Hey, Big Blue Banter listener. Would you like an extra $500? That's a lot of cash. Go to bluewirepods.com/survey and complete the Blue Wire audience survey about you and your podcast listening habits for a chance to win a $500 gift card. This survey will help create a better advertising experience for audiences and, in turn, help this show. That's bluewirepods.com/survey, where all you have to do is answer some simple questions for a chance to win $500. Make sure to read the full terms and disclaimer, plus complete the survey for a chance to win. BlueWirePods.com/survey. The link is also in the show notes of this episode.
Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast, and I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato. I can't believe I'm saying this, Nick, but we're doing the offensive tape today. We'll see what happens when we get to the defensive tape, of course, but came away somewhat optimistic, honestly pretty optimistic about what I saw from the Giants offense in this game, what it can mean moving forward if the telltale signs of this improvement on the offensive line and what Nabers can mean for an offense are true, and they hold true, and they play out over the rest of the season. We'll see if that's the case, but I want to start there today, Nick. I want to start with the offensive line. This might have been the best offensive line performance I've seen by the New York Football Giants in 10 years of watching this team. I think it certainly was the best offensive line performance I saw overall since we started doing this podcast. Now, there were been some better games from a run blocking standpoint. Maybe there have been some better games from a pass pro standpoint, but I don't even know if that's the case. But overall, I don't think there's been a better performance than I saw from this group collectively in this game. So where do you want to start? What are your thoughts on that?
From the run blocking standpoint, it wasn't like the Giants got all that creative. In the past, when we've seen successful runs, it was a lot of counter runs. It was a lot of, we're going to pull the backside guard. We're going to pull that backside H-back. It's going to be a counter run. We're going to create those extra gaps on the play side. This was more just duo.
Yeah.
It was just, we are going to form double teams up front and we are going to abuse you. And when you combine that with the aggressive nature of Washington's defense, especially when they were getting run on, you saw them, I felt like, adjust well throughout the game. They started slanting and stunting, meaning they're exchanging gaps at the snap. And it kind of threw off the double teams. You didn't see as many double teams in the middle part of the game because the Giants offensive linemen had to adjust to the penetrating linebackers and the gap exchange. And I feel like the Giants offensive line did such a good job with that. It wasn't just, we're going to get hip to hip, we're going to get our eyes on the linebacker, and we're going to drive this 3 technique or whatever it is up to the middle linebacker, and then we're going to come off. It was also adjusting to what Washington did. And that, coupled with Devin Singletary's vision and his one-cut ability, led to Devin Singletary finding a lot of those cutback lanes, because on a lot of those plays when Washington was slanting their defensive linemen, they would send their edge rusher wide to contain. And then that created this massive B gap because Andrew Thomas would just take that edge rusher and throw him aside. And Singletary, even though the play was opening up to the other side, Singletary recognized that right as he got the football, hit the hole promptly, ended up picking up like 8, 10, 12 yards. I came away very encouraged with how the offensive line performed as run blockers and as pass protection. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Carmen Brasillo must be doing something right, because I didn't expect the Giants to run the football all that well in this matchup against Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. And it wasn't like John Michael Schmitz, John Runyon, or Greg Van Roten were like dominating those guys. It was because they were a cohesive unit. And when was the last time we said that, Dan?
That's the point. Like, they're playing together, this group. It's obvious when you watch them on tape. We're going to run through, I cut up all the pass protection plays, but I cut out, Nick, the this design screen the Giants ran and a couple of the quick hitters because it's not important for pass pro. So we're going to get to see all the pass protection plays. We have some run plays to cut up. I know you have some. I have 6 Singletary run plays. We're going to get to see the run blocking on that. And I think you're right. They ran almost, not entirely, but a lot of duo in this game. And I don't think it was all necessarily just dominance up front. It was a lot of what you just saw right there, a really cohesive unit working together. Schmitz comes off the double team and gets the next guy at the next level, opens up a little bit.
This is the first run of the game. This is just an 8-yard rush, right? Like, it's nothing too crazy, but I remember like, oh, we got 8 yards right up the gut.
Right.
And the Singletary, most of his runs are right up the gut. It's not like the Giants are getting too, crazy with how they're rushing the football. They I have some of their runs charted. They had a bunch of duo runs in this game. And then they did a couple duo fold type of runs out of 21 personnel with Jakob Johnson, had 2 trap wham, had a shotgun power run where they pulled the backside guard, and then they had a couple zone reads where Daniel Jones decided to keep it, a quarterback draw and a halfback draw. So it's not all that complex. They're keeping it simple, but it's just the fact that the Giants offensive line is able to actually move people off the ball and climb at the correct time to maximize these runs with this running back is something, again, man, I'm very interested in continuing to see. On the duo runs, I saw 8 yards. They had a -2 yard rush, and then they had 22 yard, an 18 yard, a 6 yard, a 12 yard. That 12 yard ended up being the fumble. So they were getting chunks off of those rushing attempts from Singletary.
What happened in this, like last week, we saw the offensive line play solid. I don't think it played amazing. It played solid, specifically in pass protection. They gave Jones enough time in week 1 to make plays. This week, the pass protection took a jump even from that. But last week, the run blocking wasn't there. There wasn't a run scheme that was working. This week, it's like they took a totally different jump. And I would say, a lot of people would say, Nick, oh, it's the Commanders. The Giants always find success against the Commanders. Who cares? We do this every year. But this is not like a matchup where the run defense for the Commanders is supposed to be unbelievably bad. This run defense shut down Rashad White in week 1 against Tampa. They have 2 studs on the interior in Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. And yeah, they don't have the greatest linebacker core, the greatest edges at this point anymore. But this was a defense that the only way to beat them in the run game was what you just said, to play cohesively up front. You see good blocks. I thought I saw great blocks from John Runyon all game, John Michael Schmitz, players who just, in the past have been maybe not so much of an impact in the run game, and they were playing well in this game. They're executing their assignments. I think it really was as simple as what you just said at the beginning, Nick. Like, they're executing their assignments. They weren't mauling people. It wasn't these highlight reel plays. It was just playing together and cohesively, which we've taken for granted, I guess, or just doesn't happen as often as we think it should over the years watching offensive line play.
And it's the adjustments, as I was bringing up a little bit before. Now, I'm going to say this is duo. There might be some football savants out there, people who are a little bit more tuned in to the intricacies of inside zone and duo. They are very easy to conflate together. The way I typically judge that is if you are opening up towards the tight end, if you are getting hip to hip and driving vertically and really trying to establish those double teams rather than kind of combo and climb, which is what you see with inside zone. And if that backside tackle on the play is in a one-on-one situation, because in duo, you typically open up to the tight end and you typically need a tight end to block. It's one of the reasons why I've been advocating for Chris Manhertz for so long. Longtime podcast listeners, I've been a big fan of Chris Manhertz. And Chris Manhertz, look, open up towards the tight end side, one-on-one with Chris Manhertz. Now, are they forming double teams? No, not on this play. This is a little bit later on because, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, Washington was slanting and they were stunting at the line of scrimmage. But you can see how the offensive line wants to set up these double teams. They go into the double team. This is a great play by John Runyon. It's never going to pop up on a box score or anything like that. But you can see John Runyon step because he has a 2-eye on his inside shoulder. He's going to step. John Runyon's on the right side of the screen. And he sees 93, go inside. He's like, all right, JMS, you have him. 4 is penetrating. I need to peel off this double team block, and I need to pick up this penetrating linebacker. And he does. Pushes a linebacker up and away. Singletary notices it. He's not going to go to the play side. He's going to hit the backside. He sees that 2-eye. He sees that 2-eye slant. He sees a linebacker penetrate. Huge hole. Now it's on 11 to make that stop. So the defense created the one-on-one matchup that they wanted, but it's on Devin Singletary to take advantage of his blockers and to make 11 miss. And Singletary does such a good job pressing the line of scrimmage. You see how he presses it. He gets up there, puts the foot in, 11 stops his feet, and now he's like, oh, crap. I don't have the distance I want. I don't have that distance relationship with Devin Singletary, so I just need to dive at him. And Singletary's too slippery, makes a miss, and then he spins out of 20, who is that secondary alley defender, or he's not really even an alley defender because he's coming from the other side, but another defender that he really needs to make miss. This is an excellent play by Devin Singletary, but it's also because of that blocking up front, and it's an adjustment off of an adjustment that was made by it was an adjustment from Washington's defense against the New York Giants. And the Giants' offensive protection actually being able to come away and actually work, which is amazing because, look, man, through these first 2 games, the Giants' offensive coaching staff, if we just look at them collectively, they haven't really won many of the chess matches, right? Carmen Bracillo and how he is teaching this unit has them playing together to where these adjustments and these curveballs can be thrown at the offensive line, and the offensive line is not getting defeated because of them. They're actually adjusting and keeping drives going.
Yeah, it's really a breath of fresh air to watch this offensive line take these steps forward. I hope it continues on. I think next week's going to be a tough challenge for any offensive line in the NFL versus Cleveland. It's a really it's a tough front with sticky coverage on the back end and a really good scheme. But there's no denying that they've taken a massive step forward. I'm going to put up now a video, Nick, or you can put it up now, a video of just something I cut up earlier, which is every single pass play the Giants ran. So from the end zone angle, the pass protection from the end zone angle, save for I took out a few design screens and quick hitters.
Yeah.
But you can see in this video just how good the pass protection was the entire game. And you have even a few plays. It wasn't perfect. Like there were some plays with a little bit of exterior pressure here against Illuminor and there. But for the most part, occasionally I saw, Schmitz and get beat inside on one or two, Van Rowan. But for the most part, dude, like we're looking at some of the squeakiest clean pockets. Look at this pocket that Jones has to deliver this deep ball here to Malik Nabers. I mean, he is full reign to step fully into the throw. You'll see it eventually when we get to 5:03 on this, where this is like a 5.5-minute video. But the touchdown pass to Malik Nabers was some of the best protection I've seen from a Giants offensive line in years. Even here, yes, Jones gets hit, but he has plenty of time to get the ball up.
Takes a massive hit,
plenty of time to get the ball up and gets it off. And those were probably the two worst the entire time. The two worst pass per reps of the entire game. The one where he got hit and the one that I showed before where he stepped up through and threw the ball through. But yeah, go ahead if you want to break down any of these.
I'm not going to break down these pass protection plays per se. I just want to talk about this. Look, he takes a shot here and it's just slightly overthrown. I thought Daniel Jones in general, he's still kind of putting not enough air under the football. There were like 2 or 3 deep throws in this game where I was like, if there was a little bit more air, it would have been easier for Malik Nabers to come down with it. I think we ran like maybe 2 or 3 plays ago up the sideline. There was that play. The play we just saw, he gets creamed on that play, but the ball's not really close. So from a deep passing standpoint, I think Jones could have took more advantage of the pockets that he was afforded by his offensive line. But he still kept this offense on script, which is something, we're going to acknowledge at this point. But from a protection standpoint, dude, again, you're not going up against great pass rushers. That's one thing that you could say to kind of bring us back, but the pocket was just intact. And when you have Andrew Thomas, who can always just handle a pass, and he's going to be challenged by Myles Garrett for sure. And Myles Garrett might see some Jermaine Illuminor if they want to move him around. But when you have Andrew Thomas, you can slide protection to the other direction and just trust him. It's difficult to roll. From where I'm at.
Sorry, if you can get back to that play, and just pause real quick. Look at Jermaine Illuminor rep. Look at this Illuminor rep. That is such a phenomenal rep from Illuminor. Yeah, and for those watching, on the way he gets into that jump set and just gets his guy covered. This is an example probably of a pocket that, not probably, definitely of a pocket that the quarterback shouldn't have escaped, should have just sat and reset. But he didn't have too many of those this game, Jones. I thought he did a much better job of managing the pocket versus last week.
Much better job.
Jones generally, and we'll get into more of this, but looked so much more comfortable this week. So much more in tune with the game plan. The timing was so much better with the receivers. Some of the passes from a ball placement standpoint were just so much better than what they were the week before. And generally speaking, he did execute the game plan, which was kind of keep it underneath and put the ball in Malik Nabers' hands early and often, allow him to spin out and make these catches after yards after the catch. Look at the pocket on that one right there, the steep ball to Malik Nabers. Like, he never used to get this pockets. And for me, like, the biggest difference is, and you mentioned before, and here we're getting to the red zone play, the touchdown to Nabers, best pass protection I've seen from the Giants in the red zone in a decade, basically. But, the point you're making, which is true, is he did only complete one pass that traveled 10 yards in the air this entire game, Daniel Jones. So it's not like the Giants were really opening it up here against the secondary where Baker Mayfield torched for 330 and 4. But on all the underneath stuff, the ball placement was just so much better from Jones, and the timing was just so much better from Jones than it has been for him, both in his past and obviously in week 1, which was like a disaster performance. So I really feel like he played well, just all things considered, did what he was basically asked to do. Like, look at these pockets, dude. It's crazy watching this. Like, I'm not used to watching Giants clips, a whole cut up like this, where the pockets are just so good for so long. So many of these plays are like perfect pockets, including 3 deep balls we showed. We showed 3 deep balls that were just perfect pocket. Here's another perfect pocket. Well, this one he probably should hit Nabers underneath. That's a perfect pocket. And I think the biggest difference, Nick, to me, and I'll get your take on this, is the interior offensive line. That's where a lot of the issues have started over the years. But that was a great rep right there by Schmitz to come off that and help the left guard there. But I mean, between Schmitz, Runyon, and even to some extent Van Roten, though I think he was the worst of the 3, the interior offensive line is just playing at a completely different level than I'm accustomed to seeing.
Oh, absolutely. And as I was saying before, having Andrew Thomas, being able to slide Andrew Thomas and he can handle whatever responsibility, as long as those other 3 guys are, and I want to acknowledge this for the YouTube audience, as long as those other 3 guys are competent, it's going to allow you to have a successful offense and a successful protection package. And the Giants identified that as an issue. They went out and they signed these competent offensive line. Last year, it was like Marcus McKeithen playing
Right.
this role. They had to bring Justin Pugh up, and Justin Pugh, we like Justin Pugh, but Justin Pugh was like their best offensive lineman by like week 6, and he just came straight off the couch. Like that was the situation the Giants found themselves in. And this year they at least added some offensive linemen to give Daniel Jones the best opportunity to be his best self. And when you also have, I think it was this last play, I don't know if you guys saw it on YouTube, but there was a play where Devin Singletary had an elite play in pass protection to allow Daniel Jones. I think it was the one that we just ran, to allow Daniel Jones to get the football off. When you have a 6-man protection package like that, it's going to allow you to move the football. But again, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I'm very, very intrigued by what we've seen from this protection. This was against Washington, and Washington's best edge rusher right now is Dorrance Armstrong, who is a third edge rusher on a lot of other teams, maybe a 2. So we do want to keep things into perspective with that, but still, man, we're looking at baby steps. We just want baby steps. We want competent baby steps. And these were determined baby steps because the Giants.
I would say it was more than a baby step. I call it at minimum a toddler step from this offensive line, because I
Maybe
do
even
agree
more.
with you.
Maybe even more. Preteen step.
Sure. Preteen step. Because I do agree with you. And like, this is the worst rep right here. And it was just one bad rep almost. And it's like the entire game. And I do agree with you. This wasn't the best the toughest matchup exterior wise, but interior wise, like that's where I'm really looking. Like again, you mentioned it best, like guys like Bredesen and McKethan, non-NFL players. Bredesen, I guess, is sort of that. Like, the difference between what we saw last year it's really the interior for me. That's where they've taken the biggest jump, because I just am not used to seeing some of the interior clean pockets the Giants had in this game. And it was over and over and over again for Daniel Jones. That was the fourth, pass that traveled 20 yards in the air that Jones threw, I think, in the game. All 4 of the passes we just ran where Jones threw the ball over 20 yards was perfect pockets. Look at this pocket right here on the first throw of the half, the Darius Slayton, the second half. Like, this is just, I know they have extra guys in pass protection, but I mean, the interior is squeaky clean there.
And one reason why, too, it was their ability to run the football. Because, look, this is a play-action pass, and they were running the football all game at this point. These play-action. Look at all these defenders. They're crouching up to the line of scrimmage, and they're saying, I got to get my eyes on 26. Not Saquon Barkley, but Devin Singletary. Jones has the football, and now they're like, oh, I get the rush now. And that's one of the reasons why I think the defense struggles, is when the defense can't run fit, and the defense has to worry about the run so frequently. They're not going to be pinning their ears back and pass unless they're in obvious pass rushing situations. And defense, we'll get into this. There was two third and 10 plus situations where they did halfback draw and the Giants were way out of position, and it ended up getting converted by Jane Daniels or Austin.
One was 1 yard short in the red zone, but then they were going to go for it on 4th, but then they had the stupid false start penalty, Washington, which saved the Giants. Before we move past the offensive line, though, I want to ask you because we'll talk about a little more later. I really like the game from Runyon, but JMS, that's an early draft pick. A little bit of a struggle in his career with the Giants prior to this game, or prior to the season, I should say. Thought he had a really good game in this game. I really did feel like this was a good version of John Michael Schmitz. I never expected us to get Creed Humphrey. To me, he never had that upside at all. But I thought we would get maybe this version of JMS, somebody who's helping, somebody who knows where to be in pass protection, who's helping keeping that interior pocket integrity, and just overall doing pretty good on some double teams. Just overall a good game. Let's just call it that. What did you think? Was that accurate?
Absolutely. I think the offensive line in general all played a good game. Van Roten is
except for Van Roten, yeah.
He's the weak link, but it was an improvement over week 1 because he was really bad in week 1. So look, if you were to tell Giant fans 6 months ago, not even, hey, they're going to have a competent offensive line, Daniel Jones is going to have pockets to throw the football from. If you were to tell Giant fans that, they would have signed up for that. They would have signed up for it just to see what the hell the Giants can do
somehow
with that, because they haven't had that. So again, man, Dan and I are both distraught about this loss. Like we're devastated by this loss. Like this is terrible for the New York Giants, but this is at least a functional offensive line that will keep the New York Giants in games. And we're not just trying to do this just to be positive, but like in all seriousness, we haven't seen an offensive line. Like 2022 offensive line was not this. Not this at all. Jermaine Illuminor is a significant upgrade over Evan Neal from 2022. Mark Lewinsky is a significant downgrade from what we have at left guard and right guard right now. And that's saying a lot because Van Roten's not playing all that well. But Mark Lewinsky was.
And if JMS plays like this, he's a significant upgrade over what we had. And it wasn't that bad at center then, but it wasn't as good as what it just looked like on tape. Like you guys just saw that. We ran that whole clip through. That looked like nothing we've seen from a pass protection standpoint in years.
And then you combine that with what they were able to do in the run game and how they were able to adjust to the curveballs that the defense was trying to throw at them. And you come away pleased. So I am pleased by good job, Carmen Brasillo. That's what I'm going to say. Good job getting these guys prepared. I wish it actually resulted in a win.
And I want to say one more thing about that offensive line on the Carmen Brasillo front. I think, look, the Giants are in a tricky position, Nick. They're 0-2 with a tough schedule on its way.
What's up, everybody? It's Jerry Ferrara. I've got a new podcast called Throwbacks with Heisman Trophy winner Matt Leinart, where we will be talking about all things sports, all things pop culture, and all things about our lives. From football locker rooms to Hollywood green rooms, we've got you covered. We're your weekly destination for the games you want to hear about and the stories you won't forget. Listen to Throwbacks on Apple Podcasts or Spotify with new episodes every Thursday.
What's up, big Blue Banter listeners? I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. And all of Mint Mobile's plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/BBB. That's mintmobile.com/BBB. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/BBB. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, guys, it's the best time of year. Football is back. We're talking NFL Sundays, college football Saturdays, and that glorious grind of fantasy football lineups. This is where your inner GM comes alive, setting the perfect fantasy roster, screaming at your television, and making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the guy everyone ridicules in the group chat. But listen, while you're over here making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench. Let's be honest, nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp down below with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra to taking care of those rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0, this is the lineup that'll keep you looking and feeling like a champ, on and off the field. Join the over 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to manscaped.com. Use the code BIGBLUE for 20% off plus free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of the grooming season. This is an excellent deal for you and your little friends down there. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BIGBLUE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code BIGBLUE at manscaped.com. Stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way.
On the Carmen Brasillo front, Nick, look, the Giants are in a weird position here at 0-2 with a tough schedule coming. It's possible that Brian Daboll and Joe Shane may be out at the end of the season, or one of the two, Brian Daboll. I think the Giants are at a point where they need to strongly consider making some kind of offer to Carmen Brasillo to keep him on board no matter what happens with the coaching staff. Because, look, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but what he's been able to do in such a short period of time with this group, and I'm not even just saying like they're playing to get him to play great football. I'm saying to get him to play cohesively like this, to get him to look like a unit. To me, they looked in this game, Nick, here's the best way I can describe this. They looked to me in this game from watching the tape like a team, like an offensive line that's played 32 straight games together. And they've played no straight games together. They played one straight game together. But they look like a team that's been playing, an offensive line that's been playing together forever. That alone has me really high on Carmen Brasillo. And I'll say this one final point about Brasillo. The Raiders' run offense this year has plummeted from an efficiency standpoint. Their offense is not generating anything on the ground. And last year under Brasillo, they had like 100-yard games out of Zamir White over and over at the end of last season to finish the year. And they can't get anything going on the ground this year. I think that could be somewhat related to Brasillo. Again, so I just want to make sure he's there. But you can talk about that if you want, or we can turn the page to Singletary.
Yeah, let's turn the page to Singletary. I mean, look, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I want a good offensive line coach. If he proves to be a good offensive line coach, pay him whatever he wants.
Yeah. Okay. And keep him through if the regime changes, which we don't know about yet. But I put it together a clip of 6 Singletary runs, Nick, that were all pretty damn special, to be honest. You can see through these runs why Singletary was, one of the league leaders last year in forced missed tackle rate. why his
Trap
efficiency was
wham,
phenomenal.
baby.
What'd you say?
Trap wham, baby, in the red
Yeah.
zone right here for a
That's
touchdown.
him, man. That's trap wham, but this to me is him. Like a lot of these runs were just him in a lot of ways. Like a lot of backs aren't creating this, turning this into a touchdown to get skinny through that crease and then to make that cut and the contact bounce at the end. That's three different defenders who had a chance to stop him and three different defenders who would have stopped probably a bigger back. Honestly, like
Yeah, dude.
size works to his favor in a lot of ways.
And that's just a phenomenal block too by Darius Slayton. You're right.
Yeah.
Singletary, again, like when we signed him, we were saying like this guy is underrated. He's not Saquon Barkley. Let's not act as if he is going to be Saquon Barkley, but he's a good professional running back who has really quick feet and he's very decisive. But I just wanted to highlight that block by Darius Slayton right there, right off the ass. He's able to run. And then that's just an insane, like he was able to make this defensive back miss right off of the 86. That's crazy.
Roll it back even a little if you can to like the start. If it's easy, just look at like, yeah, if you can even get it a second before then, it's hard to do, Nick. So I don't blame you. But like, yeah, about this, like to turn this into a touchdown makes no sense. Yes. It's just, and we're going to see that on a lot of these runs. Earlier in this clip, I had what I thought was his favorite run, the one you put on Twitter earlier as well today. The first run that I put on here, but like, there's just so many runs where they would be -2, -1 for a lot of running backs.
It's his
feet.
He
Individually did this. It's his feet and it's his understanding of spatial awareness. And in a lot of ways, it's also the contact bounce, the point of attack. You showed before we had that spin move out of the safety. I mean, that's contact balance right there. So is getting through this final, tackler at the end here. And look, he averaged 5.9 yards per carry. When's the last time a Giants running back has averaged almost 6 yards per carry in a game? I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah. There probably was a time where Saquon did it, but yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And that's not a knock on Saquon. Let me make that clear, Nick.
I know. But
I'm saying, yeah, it's in conjunction with how well the offensive line blocked.
Absolutely. Again, this wasn't like he was just ripping off like a 40, 50, 60. No, these were like consistent 8 yards, 20 yards here, 12 yards. There were a lot of good runs, and a lot of it is him making people miss at the second level. And he's put in that position because he has an offensive line that allows him to get to the second level. Right. And that's how an offense functions, or at least a rushing attack functions. And even on a play like that, that play's blown up. This isn't great blocking. This is not great blocking right here. Blown up. He notices and he's able to follow Van Roten. Good job by Van Roten to create that hole and then find right off the ass of Darius Slayton, who's cracking down again.
And it's 6 yards. And you made a mention of Darius Slayton, who's cracking down and making good blocks. Dable pointed out today. What?
That's why he's playing more than Hyatt.
Right. That's what Dable said today. He mentioned Darius Slayton's blocking as a big reason why he's the wide receiver 2 and Jalen Hyatt is the wide receiver 3 in this offense. And look, that's a factor. When you're going to run this style of offense with a lot of, 2 wide receiver personnel groupings that the Giants have had in the first 2 weeks, for whatever reason they've done that, you're going to need your receivers to block. Honestly, dude, all the best offenses have the receivers blocking. Like, the 49ers offense, like all these great games, the Rams. So I think it's a good sign that Darius Slayton, once again, proving his worth in that regard, Nick. And I'll say this, I won't do a full rant again today, Nick, about this, but I'll just never see eye to eye with the people. Like I put up that Devin Singletary cut up, Nick. It was like 2 minutes of just unbelievable runs, a lot of individual plays. And a lot of the responses were just, he lost us the game with the fumble. And I just never going to see eye to eye with people like that. I respect your opinion. You can have that opinion, but I view football as a 100-play game, not a 1-play game. And again, like he has one bad play, which again, I don't even really know if it's a bad play by Singletary. I think it was a phenomenal punch out by the defender there by the Washington. Like
he
had phenomenal punch out.
He had the football in the wrong arm, and he
did, but it's hard to put it back transition. He's making 70 zillion cuts there on that play, and like that's a 2-yard gain for like every other running back. But he turns it into 15, and he fumbles. And I'll give him that. It's a mistake, Nick. It is a mistake. But he also did all these other great things. So it's like, do we hyper focus on the one mistake, which is one play, or do we kind of factor it all in? I'm always in the camp of factoring it all in. I thought Devin Singletary had a phenomenal game.
Of course, yeah, he played phenomenally. He had one fumble, which was tragic. But if we're going to blame the loss on it's collective. Football is always a collective sport. But be more mad at the coach for not figuring out the kicking situation when he has someone on his practice squad and he rolled out a 37-year-old who popped up on the
or the defense that didn't force a punt.
Oh my God, I know, dude. Didn't force a punt, and it's crazy when you go into. We'll get into it when you go through the defensive film. Though there's so many times where you're like, oh, they stopped. Oh no, they didn't. Oh, that's a defensive holding penalty. Oh wait, he ended up coming up with that football. What the hell happened there? Oh wait, they got him sacked. Oh wait, never mind. Oh, he scrambled away. Oh, there's 10 yards for Jane Day. It's like maddening, that defensive film, and it wasn't even. Again, man, like Cliff Kingsbury. Like we'll get into it on the defensive podcast, but the Giants, they had a couple plays where they took a page out of Cliff Kingsbury's book, just attacking off leverage. I loved how they were able to do that because that's like what Cliff did the entire time. It's like, oh, you want to play off? Because the Giants, for whatever reason, I know what reason, they read the routes being distributed and then they attack top down. They're never really impressed, which is a complete deviation from what we saw last year with Wink Martindale. They were hardly impressed this entire game. But the Giants on offense took a page out of Cliff's book, if you want to say that, and they just kept running that little quick screen or that little quick hitch, little quick curl to Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers catches it, goes inside, and then spins out. They kept taking advantage of that, and it didn't really matter who was covering Malik Nabers. He was the dude, and we can run through some Malik Nabers plays if we want to at this point.
Let's throw it up there because Malik Nabers did a lot of things in this game, some of which we discussed on last night's podcast, Nick, but one that I found out, a few more I found out today. He leads the NFL in 20-plus yard plays, and almost none of them have been 20 yards thrown in the air. They're all him after the catch. His yards after the catch is unbelievable. He became the first wide receiver to do 15 targets and 200-plus air yards in a game, or the second receiver ever. I mean, he is single-handedly dominating at the NFL level as a rookie. So here's a few plays. This is the first one.
Yeah. Absolutely love this too. This is the first catch for him. Just create a lot of traffic with confusion. You have Theo Johnson, who is on the line of scrimmage, and you're going to have the man coverage. Theo Johnson's just going to go right through both of these guys, and look at all that traffic that was just created by Theo Johnson. Both of those defenders with the running back flaring out. One of them has to go over there, so he's going to be moving to his right. The guy on Malik Nabers is going to be moving to his left. The person who was in the middle of the field originally is bailing to a deep half, number 11. And then Malik Nabers just comes wide open. And it was a completely legal play. The middle of the field ends up being wide open. There were a lot of little releases like this from Bunch or just two-man releases where the Giants were able to get Malik Nabers open. Here's a little play-action slide. Good job by Daniel Jones to get the football out of his hand very quickly, and Malik picks up a decent amount of yardage. So you see this. These are just all of his targets, mind you. But we saw that all game. And he had, 18 targets, I think, in this affair, bro? Like
18 targets.
69%
targets are earned at the NFL level. When you're earning, when you get 18 targets, it's not because a defense or a coach is force feeding you. It's because you're earning them by creating separation. His separation rate, Nick, is among the best in the NFL right now. He had like the most plays of at least 3+ yards of separation this game of any wide receiver in the NFL. He is a phenom. He is a phenom.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. He's a legit dude. They've been trying to hit this deep post. They're going to hit it, dude. Whenever they see these quarters and they want to pass, they want to air it out. They run all this stuff in the middle of the field to occupy the eyes of both of those safeties. They get the cornerback at top of the screen right here, outside leverage, and they're just running that post. And if Jones can deliver this, he's under pressure. This is the play where he gets demolished. Malik Nabers has that step to the inside. Both of those safeties are occupied with the routes that are going on in the middle of the field. So that's going to be a play that they're going to really continue to try to press. That's an amazing blitz pickup, by the way, by Devin Singletary.
He was underrated in that regard as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll run it one more time. And this is not a replay. This is Malik Nabers just doing Malik Nabers things. Picks him up just long enough to allow Jones to attack that off.
Just turn his body like that, spin out, and create another 20 yards after the catch there. Just phenomenal stuff here. Is this the touchdown? No, this is another play right here.
This is another one. He bails the pocket a little early here, but he's trying to get that fade to Malik Nabers at that point.
Nah, he should be staying in that pocket and throwing from within the pocket for sure there.
Especially with Singletary picking up 20.
Yep.
That's another really good blitz pickup. That's a good pocket right there at that point.
A good pocket.
Yeah. Trying to see if you can isolate Nabers.
A couple examples of that at least this week. I only thought I saw 2 or 3 examples of Jones bailing pockets. He definitely managed them a lot better. Look at the pocket on this Malik Nabers touchdown. I mean, this is as good as it gets. This is just Jones is just standing back there with the entire all day. He has more time if he wants it.
Andrew Thomas too, man. Andrew Thomas just stands up. I think that's Dorrance Armstrong. And then you have the twist.
Look at the right side. Look how well they picked that. Yeah.
The left side of the screen, nice twist. Greg Van Roten ends up falling down, but he gets enough of the player to where it doesn't go through the B gap. And then Jermaine Illuminor just picks up Daron Payne very effortlessly. And again, create traffic in the red zone, right?
Let me ask you a question about this throw. I was discussing this with Giants Daily. Do you think that Jones should anticipate this and throw it a little bit earlier?
Let's
Or are
see.
you
So
okay with it?
I mean, I was okay with it. It ended up scoring a touchdown, but we have a bunch release. It's a delayed release for Wan'Dale Robinson underneath Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is running underneath Darius Slayton. He's waiting to see where 34 is. Like, yeah, you could say there's going to be a wide open spot there. So yes, you can throw with the anticipation and come out a little bit earlier, but he has a big pocket at the same time. And he just waited, I guess, like a split second longer than maybe it could have come out.
I was thinking leaving it earlier, just as he's making,
Yeah.
as he's, right, like before
Like you could
that.
throw it right at this moment, and he double
Sure.
kind of burps the baby and double clutches
Well,
it.
it worked out anyway, though, because
what
he had such a clean
34
pocket. That's the thing. If we have
Yeah,
these kind of
exactly.
clean pockets, it doesn't even matter.
He's seeing what 34 is really doing there, and if 34 is going to stick, and he didn't. And
Yeah,
Malik Nabers is.
I think he can beat 34 to that spot regardless from that point. But yeah,
This was the drive where I had a little bit of an issue with Daniel Jones, and it was the drive after the fumble when they went 3 and out. And this was the first play of the drive. The Giants come out in a stack, and they align Malik Nabers outside the numbers. They're just trying to get the ball from the far hash to Malik Nabers. Again, look at the coverage. You're going to have one player who is within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. He can get blocked. And then you have the apex defender splitting the difference between the numbers and the hash. And then the safety is 15 yards away almost. So you have a lot of space, attack the space, but that's not a good ball. Now you could say he should catch it, but that ball.
this is an area of the field, Nick. If we're being honest with ourselves, we've watched a lot of tape of this quarterback. This is a throw he's struggled to make his entire career, especially as of late. This field side throw. And this is where you can kind of start to see the bad footwork come into place. Actually, the footwork doesn't even look that horrible on this compared to how he usually throws that. But this trying to throw that full field, rip it to the sideline throw. He missed Barkley against Vegas. He missed a few throws early last week. And this is just another one, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Exactly. And this is after the fumble. That play that I just ran. It's unfortunate.
Yep. Great pocket there for that throw.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, now that we're running in and we got to that point, we've talked Nabers, who was absolutely phenomenal in this game. Singletary, another great game. The O-line, really everyone played well. There's just There's just one question mark and then one evaluation of yours I want. What'd you say?
Another stunt twist pickup at this moment.
Yeah. They're picking up stunts. This offensive line can pick up stunts and twists.
And they're comfortably doing it too. They're comfortably
picking up stunts and twists. We haven't, uncomfortably or not, we haven't seen them pick up stunts and twists with any kind of consistency over the last decade, 5 years. I mean, it's a long time before we've seen this kind of competent offensive line pass protection.
Yeah, that twist isn't nearly as well sold as some of the Brian Flores Minnesota ones, to be fair, but still, man, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah. Not to knock them but yeah, Brian Flores. I mean, you should have seen what Brock Purdy said. He's like, this is the best game plan I've ever seen, basically, with what Flores did yesterday.
I bet on Minnesota to win that game. Yeah,
nice.
But I think I parlayed it with something that didn't end up that was one that I was picking it because last year they struggled. I watched
the money line. You bet a money line?
Yeah, but again, I think I parlayed it, and I don't think
pain.
Yeah, exactly. But it was an upset alert Monday. Like, look, dude, you had Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Right. Short week for San Francisco. San Francisco just put their star running back on IR. No McCaffrey. We saw what Minnesota did against the Giants. They're riding high. That's their home opener. And we saw what Brian Flores did to Brock Purdy last year. And I watched that tape 2 weeks ago in preparation for week 1. So I had that tape fresh in my mind. And I'm like, dude, they're going to really struggle against Minnesota. And I think
you didn't go money line. That probably was like plus 200.
It probably was, but yeah, I'm a coward, bro. What am I gonna do? You know?
But anyway, what I wanted to get to was 2 things. One, what were your thoughts on the lack of involvement for tight end Theo Johnson in the passing game? I'm gonna have a few questions for you on the tight ends right now. So I charted it, and Theo was on the field for 30 pass plays, but he blocked on 12 of them, and he ran a pass route on 18 of them. So keep that in mind. But Daniel Bellinger, just 3 snaps in this game. Crazy to see what's happened there. That's scary. And then obviously Chris Manhertz was on the field for a good complement of snaps, mostly as a blocker. So what are your thoughts on just how the tight end is used in this offense?
It's very obvious the Giants want Theo Johnson to be a thing. You know, they loved him coming out of the draft. They thought he was a steal on day 3, and you could see the appeal to Theo Johnson. I am surprised that Daniel Bellinger isn't getting on the football field. And when they put him out there, I think he played 4 snaps. One was a 2-point conversion. He was running routes, I think, on all of them except for one Devin Singletary run. So not even really using what I think is Daniel Bellinger's best asset, which is being a blocker and being physical in the trenches. Now, Daniel Bellinger's not Chris Manhertz in that regard. Chris Manhertz is basically like a small offensive lineman who's out there. And I say small, tongue in cheek, because he's a very large human being. But yeah, I'm surprised that it's not more of a split. And I don't think Theo, and I know, look, we've had Daniel Bellinger on the podcast a few times, so you could probably say, oh, you guys are sympathetic to Daniel Bellinger, and I get that critique, but I don't think Theo Johnson looks good out there. And I have nothing against Theo. I want Theo Johnson to be Travis Kelce. That would be freaking amazing for the New York Giants. But there were a couple routes where he slipped and fell down. Yeah. He's not really getting open, but he's a big body. He is physical enough as a blocker as well. But I am I'm a little shocked that we're not seeing more DB. What about you?
Yeah, I'm shocked at that. Involvement as far as involvement in the passing game goes, I think they're just being used a lot to block right now.
Yeah, kind of and create picks, and that's kind of
right.
Yeah,
and this offense right now is pretty simple. It's get the ball to Malik Nabers, and get him the ball in space. Try to manufacture space, because he'll do the rest, and he has done the rest. And I don't think they can necessarily, they haven't been generating a lot of plays that travel 20 yards in the air from a passing standpoint for while now. So I think this is their best route. Now, let me ask you that as we close out.
These are just a bunch of Andrew Thomas blocking reps. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, nice. So for those watching, can watch Andrew Thomas filthy blocking reps. Hopefully put a lot of tape out for you who enjoy it this show. All the pass blocking reps, individual reps from Andrew Thomas.
Look at Jones here.
Targets.
Look at Jones. Oh, that is a helmet right to his right. Oh, man.
And all the Devin Singletary top runs. But speaking of, before we wrap up with superlatives, Nick, I want to get your take overall on what you thought from the you saw on tape from Daniel Jones, the quarterback.
Yeah, I thought Daniel Jones was fine. He was Daniel Jones. I still think there's a little bit of a higher ceiling to Daniel Jones than what we saw, but he's leaving throws out there. I don't think he's particularly accurate in the short or the deep part of the field. I think he doesn't put a lot of touch on the football. He kind of drives it in there a lot of the time. And there were certain throws where I felt like it was necessary to drive it in there, but there were also some where it's like, if you just put a little bit more air under it and allow Malik Nabers to run underneath it, that would have been 6 possibly. And he left those plays on the field. So from a deep passing standpoint, I wasn't necessarily encouraged, but he was able to operate the offense. He seemed very poised and very comfortable in the pocket. The offensive line had something to do with that, but he was also stepping up when he had to against those high side rushes. So overall, I came away, thinking he's fine. He's Daniel Jones, but there is a capped ceiling with this quarterback, and that hasn't really been a secret for the last 3 or 4 years at this point.
Yeah, I think you described this actually perfectly. I thought he played well.
And he's a tough SOB too, man. He's a tough SOB.
Yeah, I thought he played well. He executed zone reads well. I thought for him. So what I'm wondering is, I thought he played well, Nick, but how much of it has been just, me being conditioned to seeing, to be quite frank, pretty bad quarterback play over his career, individually speaking. And then is my bar set so low that it was good, but he's really not executing much. He's not throwing, because he didn't have any completions 10 plus yards, right? He had one, the Darius Slayton one. Yeah. And when we tried to come up, as we'll go to next with our superlatives for the best throw of the game, we had to look at each other before the show and be like, what was the best throw of the game? Because there weren't really any great throws in this game. We'll come up with one, but it was mostly just Nabers. With that said, last week was so bad that I thought he played well, in the sense that he looked comfortable in the pocket. His footwork was massively cleaned up from where it was at, Nick. Massively cleaned up footwork. And then 3, the big one for me is the ball placement on those passes to Nabers was so much better than what I'm used to with Jones. A lot of the times on those short passes to Nabers or whoever the receiver was over the years, Nick, the ball placement would be behind the receiver, or it would be at the receiver, and the receiver would have to stop his momentum, and then we would lose any chance of yak. I felt like Jones did a good job. Now, they're all short throws, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards or whatever in the air, but I thought he did a good job of making those throws in front of the receiver, in front of Nabers, so Nabers could catch the pass and then do something with it after the pass. And I think that's part of why. So I've always made the case, Nick, that yards after the catch is not only a wide receiver stat, it's a quarterback stat too. So I want to give Jones credit. When a receiver has as many yards after the catch as Nabers had, I think part of it, and I think the film shows it, was that Jones did a good job of throwing the ball in front of the receiver this game, or at least a much better job than what I'm accustomed to watching him.
I mean, yeah, that's baseline things. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's baseline stuff that you expect from a quarterback, but we haven't been getting it a lot, and we haven't gotten it a lot over his career, and it's led to a lot of bad passing games. And I think in this one, he was able to to get what was at least get what was drawn up for him, right? In week 1, he couldn't keep the passing game on time, in rhythm. He wasn't even able to get what was drawn up for him. In this game, he was able to get what was drawn up for him. Like, you know how people say game manager, Nick, to describe some quarterbacks in the NFL?
Mhm.
He perfectly played the game manager role in this game. Perfectly, right? Like everything they just would not perfectly, right? I mean, like he didn't hit the deep balls that he could have hit with good pockets. And he missed a couple other throws, like, you know, the one you showed earlier, the one where Nabers was crossing and he tried to go over the middle. It wasn't perfect, but it was so much better than week 1, man. And this was, you can win a game with this kind of management style at quarterback. You really can, especially if you have Nabers.
Yeah, you can argue the Giants should have won the game.
They should have won, and he would have played a role in that win.
Absolutely.
And another factor is week 1, I thought he was one of the worst players on the field and one of the big reasons the Giants lost. This week, he was not even one of the top, like 5, 6, 7, 8 reasons why they lost.
For those Madden players out there, this is a play that you probably run a lot in the red zone. It was the Malik Nabers' first touchdown. It's called bunch trail. Now, I love this because you're going to have Darius Slayton clear out. He is the number 2 receiver on that bunch, who is on the line of scrimmage, release to the inside, and then run a flag, drag that one defender away. And now you have a 2v2, and 25 is basically eliminated from this play. He's going to work underneath Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton's not even an option because the play is going to the middle of the field, and you're going to have Malik Nabers, who's originally the number 3, run a slant right behind Darius Slayton with the delayed release from, oh no, he's the number 1, I'm sorry, with a delayed release from the number 3 receiver, meaning the innermost receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson. So basically at this point, you have 3 receivers who are in a direct vertical line. It's pretty cool, right? Because you don't know where exactly they're all going. So those 4 Washington defenders are all like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on or what my assignment is in this very condensed area. And then you have that 4th, the innermost defender. Where are his eyes? On 8, because you got to worry about 8. So he's basically operating as a quarterback spy. So Malik Nabers is able to dart right over to the middle of the field, right behind that quarterback spy, and then find space. Nabers does a good job kind of fading into the end zone. And Jones, again, delivers the football. Well played. People might say it's a little late. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to really ding him for that. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, if Nabers were to be covered, he ends up running out and then just follows Malik Nabers' path. I've called this a follow concept before. It's bunch trail though in Madden, and I've seen a lot of smart people refer to this as bunch trail. And you can see Wan'Dale was also open if Malik Nabers wasn't so wide open. So I love this type of
pocket,
play.
Man.
Yeah,
I have to say it one more time, Nick. Like, look at this pocket that Jones has to throw from here. This is phenomenal stuff. Like, just phenomenal. It's the cleanest pocket I've seen in a red zone for the Giants in so freaking long. This is as good as it gets, really, for me from a protection standpoint.
And the defensive play call worked in the Giants' favor too. You have Tyrone Tracy in the game. He's just going to flare out. He's going to remove one defender, but they blitzed the defender next to that defender. So basically the middle of the field is wide open other than the quarterback spy. When you have all of that confusion and that traffic to the bunch side, if no one gets inside leverage on Malik Nabers, who the hell is going to cover him if the quarterback spy is not paying attention to that? Nobody. And that's why it was an easy touchdown.
Yep. Great design by Dable. Great call at this time against this defense, and then just unbelievable job by the Giants pass protection there to create that opportunity. Let's get to some superlatives, Nick, and close out there. I want to hear who your unheralded player was. I think we have a similar guy here, but I'm not positive. I didn't see yours before doing this.
Yeah, I went with Andrew Thomas, and it's weird because he could have been the best player, and you're not going to hear any complaints from me. It's just I love watching him play football because he is so good, and we've seen him develop through these years. Like his rookie season was a little rough, right? I was like, oh, he got a little bit better at the end of the season. That's fine. Second season, we're like, yo, he's good. He might be like a top 10 tackle. This is pretty dope. By the end of the second season, we're like, yo, we might got a guy. Too bad the Giants suck. That's kind of consistent throughout a lot of these years, mind you. And then 2022 comes around. We're damn good. We're rolling. We start talking about top 5 consideration. Last year he was hurt, and now he's back post-injury. The guy looks phenomenal. Now, I'm not grinding through the tape of all 32 teams, but I'd be hard pressed to say that there are 6 tackles in the league who look as good as Andrew Thomas.
3. I would be hard pressed to say 2 or 3, honestly.
Yeah. So
not that I'm grinding the tape of every tackle.
Yeah.
Like
I know.
Trent Williams, and then I don't know how many more.
It's how comfortable he is. It's his stop and start too, man. Like he even if it's a quick set, man, if it's a jump set, he jumps out to cut off the angle of that wide rusher, and then he is just like a python just waiting to just snatch the guy, right? And he's using a lot of patience in that. He's being very disciplined. And then whenever that pass rusher makes its move, whether it's to the outside, is he trying to attack the half man? Is he trying to use power? Good luck. He knows how to mitigate that. And whenever someone does try to bull rush him, he absorbs it. He just takes it in and he just acts as a wall and just stones this dude. So yeah, I went with Andrew Thomas. I feel like these past 2 games he's been sensational. Too bad the Giants.
Yeah, dude. I just really hope it doesn't turn into a Joe Thomas situation for Andrew Thomas. Joe Thomas being the Hall of Fame tackle for the Cleveland Browns, former Wisconsin Badger. By the way, I'll get to this in a second. Who just had a whole career with the bad Browns, and it's basically they wasted Joe Thomas's career essentially. By the way, you've seen how good Leo Chenal's been, right?
Oh God, dude!
See that rep where he basically operated as a defensive tackle and took on a double team. I mean, we took Cordell Flott over him.
Stop.
We did. And me and you said that Leo Chenal was a top 50 player in that class. And we were dead right about that. And Joe Shane should have taken Leo Chenal there, to be completely honest.
Joe Shane's 2020, the 2022.
How much better would our run defense be with Leo Chenal? It doesn't even matter where you put him. How much better would our shit run defense be? Sorry, damn it, I did it. With Leo Chenal.
It'd be a lot better.
But you know what? The NFL said, Joe Shane included, we can't draft this guy. I don't want to do that voice. We can't draft this guy because he doesn't play the position that he doesn't fit what this position is supposed to be right now, linebacker. How about he's just a great football player who looks unbelievable on tape? How about that? You'll figure out how to use him in your defense. That's what good teams do. That's why the Chiefs have been winning so much, dude. They're finding mid-round picks that other people don't think fits the bill, but they do fit the bill because they're good football players. Some of these corners they've taken, like Jerry Sneed, like guys over the years, dude, that they've drafted that are undersized or don't fit, like Leo Chenal, that actually are just great football players. And it just pains me to see.
It pains me too. And again, man, I don't want to kick Cordell Flott while he's down, but
he looks terrible out there.
I know. And there were plays that you don't even really realize. But then when you turn on the tape, you're like, oh, that 40-yard rush by Brian Robinson. Cordell Flott actually tried to go for the football instead of going for the stop. And he just falls off and it ends up being a 40-yard. The Giants actually bottled them up there. Like there was just a wall that Brian Robinson couldn't find anything. And he's the contained defender on the edge. He goes to the edge and Brian Robinson runs right through him. And it's just like, and in that situation, I don't know if Andrew Phillips was dealing with something. I don't think Drew Phillips was on the field for that play.
No.
Not to talk too much about the defense. We'll handle that in the next pod. But why would you have Cordell Flott out there on a 3rd and 1 and not Drew Phillips in this run support situation? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't really make any sense. Scary times for the Giants defense right now, honestly, because this Washington offense is not good and it's going to be exposed by plenty of defensive coordinators. The Giants should have been.
And you saw that through the game too, man.
Yeah, they didn't look good. Like the Giants screwed this game up big time, royally. They should have been so much further along from a defensive standpoint, and they would have won this game easily. Easily, they would have won this game.
I think Cliff called a good game.
Without a kicker.
Yeah, Cliff called a good game though.
For him, he called a good game. I still think his offense is ridiculous. Like the fact that Terry McLaurin has like 8 targets, 6 catches, and 24 yards through 2 games is absolutely ridiculous. And Jaden Daniels is somebody who can throw the ball downfield. I like some of the calls. We'll go over it. The Ertz call, like that route that got Ertz open. I think it was a sail route. I don't remember from earlier in the game. Like he had some good calls occasionally, and he played Bowen. He beat Bowen, but like the design of that offense to me is not good long term at all, and does not work in today's NFL or any NFL really.
The Giants have been down bad trying to cover these 3-man route concepts.
I know.
Flood concepts to one side of the field. Yeah, they're not good at that right now. So
back to the superlatives. We'll do defense next pod. Let's do unheralded player for me. I'm giving it to John Runyon. That's my guy. I thought he played a phenomenal game. 0 pressures given up, according to Pro Football Focus. I don't know if that's exactly true. I'd have to go run back through him, but I think it's probably close. No hits, no sacks. Look good in the run game at times. John Runyon is a guy who I think could end up being a hit from a free agent standpoint. And the Giants haven't had any free agent hits on the offensive line. And they've tried so many times to get a free agent hit. Glowinski, the guy Gettleman, the 2 gentlemen brought in, Solder and Omame. It's just years of trying to bring in free agents on the offensive line, failing. Maybe they finally figured it out there. He's my guy. What's your best throw you saw in the game?
I think it was the one Darius Slayton one. Again, like I didn't really think there was a particular throw that stands out. And I'm not saying that to chastise or besmirch Daniel Jones.
Telling what you saw.
Yeah, like he some of the throws that seem simple, they're fine. But again, they're like fine. There wasn't one, like if you turn on Jacksonville, who looks like shit right now, like they look terrible. You're going to find Trevor Lawrence throws where you're like, how did he make that throw? That is insane, right? Like that isn't something that really happens with the Giants, just to be frank.
No, that hasn't happened with the Giants for 5 years, with the exception of like, the first Darius Slayton throw against Tampa in his first game ever, the throw to Hodgins in the playoff game. There's probably, a handful, 5 to 6 to 7.
I would say there's more than that, but like in the whole time Daniel Jones has been the starting quarterback, but
Maybe
it's
more. I have no idea, but it's not a lot, obviously.
like for me with Daniel Jones, it's just, can he keep this offense on script right
Yeah,
now?
and he did that in this game.
Yes, and can he connect on some of those big throws when he has the one-on-one
He didn't do
downfield?
that
And he didn't do that in this game, unfortunately. But I do appreciate that he was able to diagnose that he has the one-on-one, because they were rotating their safeties a lot pre-snap, showing two high, rotating to one high, and then it's on him to be like, okay, I have the one-on-one, let me throw it. It's just he has to get the football there.
And I appreciate that the Giants pass protected really well on all those deep shots that Daniel Jones took. He got hit on one of them, but he still had the time to get the ball out there before the hit. And on the other three, he was pure clean pockets for those 3 deep shots. So I appreciate the offensive line's providing those. Hopefully Jones can start to get more accurate on those deep balls. Me and you have maintained for a while that the one time PFF put that number out, like Daniel Jones is the most accurate deep ball passer, was one of the worst stats ever, because it really convinced the fan base of something that I really thought they'd be able to see with their eyes. But Daniel Jones has not been a good deep ball passer. The anticipation, the timing, like you said, he doesn't put enough loft on these passes. The velocity's not there on a lot of these throws. And we've just simply never seen wide receivers hit in stride for touchdowns, with the exception of very few plays. This one's probably in the 5 to 10 range over his career, Nick, if we're going to be honest, for in stride touchdown catches. Tyrod Taylor did it back-to-back weeks to end the season last year. It's not something that's like crazy hard to do. Like, you can never do it. Like some of these routes, like 2 of these Malik Nabers routes today, he could have potentially hit him in stride for a touchdown. It was purely clean pockets. If he just put the ball in front of him with loft, like Nabers is going to outrun the defender at the end of those routes, right?
Yeah. I would say
that's
so.
Not
now,
mean. That's not chastising him.
Yeah, some of them, I'm not sure if they would have went for 6. The ball might have had to been optimally placed.
This is not a great deep ball thrower yet. Hopefully he can improve it. The pass protection's there, so he's gotten every opportunity. For me, the best throw was the same one that you pointed out. It was the first play of the second half. Darius Slayton on a little comeback route. I put it on Twitter. Yeah, I put it on Twitter, 19 yards. A perfect pocket for this off the play action. You said the run game helped set it up. He had 3 steps into the throw because he had such a good pocket, but he did put the ball out there in the right spot to Slayton. It was the outside shoulder. It was good drive on the ball. It was great ball placement. The timing, most importantly, was right. It came to him as he gets out of his break on the comeback. Like, that's what I want to see. Rhythmic, timing-based passing out of Daniel Jones. And he did that this game. He wasn't really asked to do much more from a, one pass that was 10 plus yards in the air, but on the short stuff, the rhythm was good. So look, it's for what he is, this is as good. This is a very good game from him.
Best overall player.
Yeah, this is fun because it's not just going to be Andrew Thomas every game for us. It was Malik Nabers 100% in this game for me.
Yeah, same here. And people like the fumble. It's like, no, like
don't
dude,
you dare talk.
This is his
you mean the drop.
Yeah, the drop. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting it mixed up with Darius Slayton. The drop. Yeah, so
it's like
the Giants put what the
Jerry the drop.
Oh, okay, yeah. Jerry, what's the deal with the drop? No, yes. The fact that they're able to do this in Malik Nabers' second NFL game also speaks to Malik Nabers. The confidence they have in Malik Nabers, I think you're going to be confident in your best player. So that I'm not as now. It does prove that mentally they trust him as well, but he accepted responsibility for that drop. Like everything that we're seeing from Nabers, if you want to call it off the field, has been positive when it comes to his desire to win football games, is his driving force. So that's another aspect of this kid that I'm intrigued by.
Yeah, his desire to win football games, also his ability to understand football concepts, right? His football IQ, because we've heard this offense described as very difficult to pick up in the past for other receivers. He's not only picked it up fast, he's picked up being the focal point of the offense fast. Like Darius Toney couldn't even run the right route. He ran into David Sills, right? Like we had players who used to run into each other in this offense. Now we have a guy who can get 18 targets in a game.
I remember week 1 of 2022. We post game, I just looked at you and I was like when we came on StreamYard, and I was just like, Kadarius Toney doesn't know the playbook. This is the first thing I said. I was like, Kadarius Toney does not know this.
2021, playbook. I believe, not two.
No, it was 2022.
Oh, the playoff year?
Yeah, he was on the team. He got traded that
year. Time when he ran into David Sills?
Yeah, I was in the Carolina game.
Oh, that was week 1 of that year? I thought Titans were week 1 of that year.
Yes, week 2 was.
Oh, I thought you said week 1. That was what confused me. Okay, I didn't hear you right.
Yeah, well, he ran into David Sills in week 2, but week 1, it was obvious because he played like 7 snaps,
Oh,
and it
and
was
that's
like
how it got
play
there.
action slide, and it was like, hey, just run to this area. There was nothing complex about what he was doing. It was very obvious that he didn't know the playbook.
And at the time, we were probably just like blaming it on the coaches or something.
No,
What's going on?
Yeah, and we went on here and we said, I don't think he knows the playbook.
No, we weren't. I shouldn't say we. I didn't mean us. I mean like the fan base. When I say we, I meant like the collective fee is.
Oh,
We
yeah,
as
yeah,
a
yeah.
fan base. We're like, what's going on with the coaching staff? They can't get Carter Sony involved, and it's like actually it was the player. It's
And
a good
knew
lesson.
it, and they knew it. They knew it for a long time because they drafted Wandale, and that was, we were like,
Right.
oh, that's a
Good
peculiar
point.
pick. You have KT. Like I think I used the word peculiar. I was like, yeah, it's peculiar that you went and kind of got I don't want to say a redundant skill set, but a smaller-ish wide receiver who may be best utilized in the slot. But the reason why was because I don't know how long this KT guy is going to last, and Wandale actually knows the playbook and he's tough, and those are the type of like character traits that I buy into when it comes to that thing. Like you don't want a player like Kadarius Toney on your team, obviously.
Yeah, it was a horrific draft pick by the last GM. Now, with that said, we didn't talk about it much, but great route, I thought, by Wando Robinson on his touchdown. Just fun watching him create that kind of separation. I think we showed the route earlier during that pass protection breakdown. All right, let's get to player we expected to see more from in this game.
Yeah, so or here's the Wandale Robinson route for those who are watching on YouTube. Jalen Hyatt? No, it's just we don't see Jalen Hyatt out there. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. Jalen Hyatt is not my answer. It's not his fault. He's not getting on the football field, presumably. It's just the Giants have receivers, and Darius Slayton is a better blocker. And I think that's the primary reason why we're not seeing Jalen Hyatt. But it does suck because I was pretty damn high on him going into the season, actually having a role, and his role is very limited.
And I'll say this one final thing, just watching this touchdown pass to Wandale. My guy would be Theo Johnson as well, even though he passed, or I'm sorry, you talked about Hyatt. My guy would be Theo Johnson.
My guy is Theo Johnson because I'm not going to blame that on Hyatt, but I just wanted to talk about the Jalen Hyatt situation.
Yeah, it's something where it's on our minds. I'll say this. It's just fun to watch this Wandale Robinson. It's funny to watch this Wandale Robinson TD because we just ran the play last week where it was like a similar quick out to Wandale Robinson and Jones just skied the ball way over his head. Look how much more comfortable Jones looks making this throw to this game. And look how much better the ball placement and the timing and the rhythm is on this throw. It's like watching night and day. I think, he does a good job, Jones, mentally of bouncing back after bad games, but he was literally rattled. He legitimately was rattled in week 1. Like you don't miss throws the way he missed that out route to Wandale Robinson in the third quarter of the first game and then make it routine. And these are routine throws. Like this is not a difficult throw, obviously, but you still need to have timing. You still need to have ball placement. He does a great job of that here. So just good to see Jones settle down as the quarterback, right? Like comfortable.
Yeah, he looks very comfortable. And Wandale almost dropped that, which would have been disastrous.
Oof. But he didn't, and he caught it.
But he didn't. He caught it.
Let's wrap up with some of the fun stuff. Pass blocking grade, Nick. Pass blocking grade 1 through 10, and I hate grades that don't involve decimals.
Yeah, so I added a 9.1 for you, and it could have been even higher. So I have a 9.1.
Oh my God, did you see you couldn't have seen mine. It's on a separate doc that you don't have access to. I had 9.1.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
It was the same run blocking grade. It's going to be the weirdest thing ever. Okay, you don't. I just checked. I just peeked over. Okay, give me your run blocking grade.
I have an 8.9.
Okay, I had 8.7 for run blocking. So, I mean, we're talking about 9.1 pass blocking, 8.7 run blocking. I can say this with certainty, and I know I can't say this with certainty because I'm not going back and checking the notes or the tape, but I can say based on memory, this is the highest single grade pass blocking we've ever given the Giants and the highest single grade run blocking we've ever given the Giants. The latter, I think there's maybe been some close ones over the years. The former, the pass blocking, we've never said the word 9. We've never uttered the number 9 to start our grade. Ever.
No. Run blocking, I'm thinking back, maybe, were we doing superlatives back when Wayne Gallman ran all over Seattle?
Oh, the Seattle Wayne Gallman game? Holy crap, that should have been like a 9.4 from the run blocking that game.
It was just power, counter, dude. They were running the football down their throat, too. It was pretty nice.
Just took it to him. That was like a 9.4.
Colt McCoy, man.
Yeah, with Colt McCoy. That was crazy. They beat Russell Wilson that game. That's how long ago that was.
Patrick Graham, drop 8. That was the defensive plan, and it worked.
It worked, and it maybe figured out how to stop Russell for the rest of his career. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see if he plays again for the Steelers this year. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning into Big Blue Banter. I keep forgetting now, Nick, to ask for it, but like and subscribe the video. Hit that like button. Please help us grow the show. Support the show. Like and subscribe. You just have to click like. So you watched this already. You made it all the way here, an hour in. Now just finish the job for us. Click the like button. That's all we ever ask. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.